Feeling out, ring stronger. Sorry, not sorry. Wish I could say I'm sorry, not sorry. Feeling out, ring stronger.
It is a Warehouse
Sorry, not
15 Uncut,
sorry.
and you know what
Wish
we
I
do
could
here, and you know
say
what we
I'm
always say and
sorry,
start with.
not
So
sorry.
let me preface it by saying the things we say here are strictly the opinions of Grandmaster Moreno and TJ, and certainly not mine. But should any of those things offend you, oh well, sorry, not sorry. We are proud and happy. I'll let my colleagues introduce our guest. It's from a rare time and a rare place that we have people that are willing to come out and share time with us. But more importantly, it's a rare time that we invite people. It's a testament to who they are. How is everybody today? Grandmaster of Disaster here with Coach Moreno. What's going on?
I'm still gleaming over the USA men's hockey game the other day. Me and TJ were going back and forth screaming. It was pretty cool. What a great story
Crazy.
with the young man that unfortunately got ran over when he was riding his bike. They brought his kids out there. It was just
Terrible.
it was a great win for USA. First time in 46 years, so that was cool. On Saturday, you know, un some people think that I don't like certain people, certain Asians, but I went to a very nice martial art tournament of one of my Asian friends that happened to be Korean, where I saw Grandmaster Suh, Master Myung Kim, Master Ro, Master Honky Kim from Venezuela. A lot of my friends
Did
and
you see?
all
Did
of
you see?
Asian.
Did you see Bader? Did you see Master Bader?
No, I didn't see him. I saw all
Oh,
my
okay.
Asian friends, and since some people said that I don't like Korean Americans, I thought it was pretty funny that I was there. But no, the funny thing was I got to coach a couple like yellow and orange belts. It was crazy. It was so much fun just to kind of be there with these little like 4 and 5 year olds. I had to yell at a couple referees. You know what I'm saying? But it was it was fun. It was
I
fun.
believe it. I believe it. They'll
But
make you the most
everything's
mad
good,
with the yellow belt matches.
man. Man. Anyway, how about you, TJ? What's up?
I'm good, chilling. We just started the week. It's only Monday here. I know in some other place like California, it's probably already Wednesday or something like that. He's down there with the whole Dovak on. I don't know what vibe he's bringing with us tonight, but I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I think we have some good conversations lined up for tonight, and
TJ.
yeah, what's up? I do it. See what I mean? It's a Dobok, sir. Where's your respect?
Oh, I thought. Namaste, namaste, baby.
So let me introduce our guest, our longtime friend, person that's been around Taekwondo for a long time, Master Ron Berry from Florida here. Ron, we're super happy to have you. Like TJ said, we have some cool topics to kind of get into. I think that you'll enjoy and stuff like that. But hey, obviously we know you for many years, but just give us a quick little background on you. I know you're really big because you were in the you were a former military person, and you have a long, extensive time in the martial arts and stuff like that. Just give us a quick little background on yourself, so for some of our friends out there that may not know you.
Yeah, I came up, with under Johan Park. He didn't really get into the tournament scene, but he had a lot of guys that did well in the sport. William Felton that went to the Second World Games. He was one of our, he's my big brother. Actually lives out in California after with Herb now. Um,
Oh, really?
yeah, he sure does down in the L.A. area. Sure does. So I don't think he practices anymore though. But Laney came out of that school. Bobby Hong. You know, Philip Young. You remember Philip? So yeah, we've had a few of us, that did well. I kind of stayed in the military side of it, so that was my game. Uh, then I kind of went back in the military, did the armed forces thing, then came back into coaching. As you know, Juan, I did pretty well in the coaching field. Put a lot of people on the team and stuff through the years. So WCAP, armed forces all the way, right, TJ?
Yes, sir. Always one team, one fight. I think Coach Moreno's frozen.
I thought he was just. I
I
thought
think
he
he's
was
frozen.
paying with rapt intention.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought
there it
he
goes.
was. He looked to me like he was so listening with such intensity, but now I do realize it was atypical of his usual ADD manner. So he'll click
There it
back in
goes.
here in a minute. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. Though I think we'll get into some of the
Oh, he's
armed force
back. He
and
got
WCAP
back
stuff
in.
too
He got back in.
a little bit later in the podcast. So I'm excited to have that conversation with you. We've had a couple people actually ask questions in the podcast on Facebook about what happened to WCAP and
Yeah, I saw
all
that.
our
I
armed
saw that.
forces. So I think we'll get to have a conversation back and forth, and it'll be kind of a good little conversation for us to have. So it'll be
Hey,
cool.
hey, you don't have to mention any names or anything like that, but I was telling these guys off air when you had like uh, a little conversation with somebody that was talking to you, on social media a number of years ago, and then you finally got to, have a little meeting with them at a friendly situation.
Yeah,
You remember
a
that?
different story when they're in their face, isn't it?
Yes,
Those sugar
sir.
checks at the mouth help real good, huh?
That's funny. That's some funny stuff. But TJ, what do you want to talk about first? What do you want to get to first?
I mean, we can just kind of start with I know I know you've had some issues with let's start with the AAU stuff. I think I know you've been a little bit very vocal with us, along with us about all the AAU stuff going on. I know you have a little bit more of a inside kind of take on all the even from the governance stuff to all the things like that, and kind of like big picture for you, like where do you think all this stuff is? I know we know. I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me. I want to say something. Me and Ron have known each other. I know Ron, from when I was competing back in the early '90s, 90, 91, 92, because the Florida group. I had a couple guys that I, kind of butted heads with. He knew John Roche and all those kind of kids, and
Yeah,
when they were
I had
coming up.
John.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so we've known each other for almost 40 years. So it's been a long time, and we've kind of it's been interesting to kind of go through some of the things. And now recently, with the AAU situation, I know you've been both with USTU, USAT, AAU. You kind of been through the gamut and stuff like that. But currently, right now, obviously, the hot topic for us, for TJ and myself, has been the AAU. Right? I mean, we've been working with them for a number of years, and all of a sudden, recently, we've been, suspended. We're going through a process right now to see if we can get that changed. But at the same time, we don't know where it's at. So, I mean, just in a quick snapshot, what's your take on all that? I mean, we can feed you some stuff, but I know you've kind of been looking at it from the outside.
well, it's pretty sad because when I first came back into the AAU, because I didn't want no part of USAT no more, due to the politics and all. It was under a different new leadership that came in, and of course, I was recruiting for WCAP a little bit with David Bartlett, and I saw some talent there, some kids coming through, and then I decided, get back in the game and of course bring some of our athletes in there. And of course, they were going to team trials and stuff. And, the association really grew and had, a nucleus of good people that was really trying hard. That was more for the athletes and all. And you remember I talked to you, Juan, about coming in possibly. I got David Tabo, Peter B, and them. And when they all came in, they all said, "You're right, Ron. They changed here, and they were more for the athletes, and they really grew. And when you think about it, these last few years, AAU was kicking USAT's ass. Let's just be blunt about it. Let's be frank, right? Um, so I went away a little bit for the on the contract, came back, and of course there was changeover happened, and I was just like, what happened here? Because the association's going forward, and all of a sudden you regress and taking back seats, and these people, and like I have to agree with Mr. Perez, who the hell is Clinton O? I mean, how many years we've been in it? We never heard of this guy. I mean, he comes out of nowhere, and from what I gather, he's just a business guy. He goes around giving inspiration business seminars and stuff like that. So he's not really a taekwondo guy to me,
Yeah.
So it's just a sad situation. And, find out, they go into a meeting, come out, and damage you and parents, career basically, Um,
Let me ask you something. Do you remember in 2000? I mean, I know Herb was really, directly involved, but you saw what was going on. Remember in 2004 when USTU was decertified, right?
yeah.
And then they came up with, the new name USA Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember at that time they put I was actually one of 5 people on a governance and management board, but there was a new board installed and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember? I called it like the wild, wild west because all of a sudden, all these nobodies wanted to become somebodies, and they were running on for board positions and then trying to be important. And I don't want to say names, but there was a bunch of them out there, and it took a while to kind of shake them out
Yeah.
and kind of get things going again. And I almost feel like that with when the past leadership was removed, stepped away, whatever you want to say. All of a sudden there was like, it was leaderless, and a guy here from Florida who's my friend, was trying to help. There was a guy from Michigan that was trying to help, and all of a sudden there's this guy from New York that's in there. It just seems like it's leaderless right now, and it's nothing against the people personally. It's just that they don't have a whole lot of institutional knowledge. I mean,
No.
one
Zero.
runs a very good tournament, really good tournament. One is I guess I can't even say he's a good businessman because his father built a business. He didn't build a business. Does he manage a business now? Apparently he does, but that doesn't mean you can run an organization. I mean, I think they've already like tripped over their feet so many times in a matter of what, 2 months, 3 months. It's
Right.
it's just it's pretty.
From what I understand is like even when he came in and that position he has currently, I can't think of the name of it. It didn't exist before him.
No,
That's a just a made
director
up
of martial
position.
arts. Director
Yeah,
of
it didn't
martial arts.
exist before, but it didn't
No.
exist before him.
And what I think is interesting, he's a director of martial arts, but he seems to be the director of Taekwondo specifically, right? It seems like
Well,
he's the one calling the
obviously.
shots. And then the chairman is just kind of following through with his directions.
Yeah, well, the chairman has slaughtered some programs already. He's cut programs through Alex, of course, and so you depleted these programs, but now you're feeding into the USAT. You're pushing referees to become members of USAT and pay their certification for referees, So, I mean, again, where's the return value to the AAU? It seems that all the funding now is going towards USAT. I mean, they put up $100,000 for the cadets.
Just like that. Ahead
Just
of
like
time
that.
for next year.
I don't even understand that. I still don't even I
You
still
know,
can't
it's
wrap my
interesting.
mind around why it exists.
Yeah, it's interesting. Clinton has called people and asked them, how do I know about that money? And what they don't realize is like you three sitting there, how long have we been in this canoe club? Let's be frank about it. I was a voting athlete at one time at the USTU. I probably made some good, connections there. I was a national coach with the Armed Forces team. We became friends, right? And just like May called me when, when they had a meeting, and I showed her the photocopy of the meeting, after about 30 minutes after they came out of that, and she goes, "How'd you get this?" I said, "Come on, May. Everybody goes in that meeting, board of governors. When those athletes come out, they call their coaches. They show their coaches everything, and it just filters out. So there's no secrets, There's no secrets.
Yeah.
We all know what goes on.
That's the funny thing. I mean, there shouldn't be secrets. Like, okay, if you're on the up and up, if you're transparent, you're keeping everything out in the open, then there's nothing to hide, right? You don't
Right.
need to. Transparency is just kind of, you see what we're doing, and it seems like there's always these little backdoor conversations. I mean, to get, where did all this start? This started with these two organizations getting together, colluding to give TJ an ultimatum. That's where this, I mean, that's not where this thing started, because it started way before that, as separately. But when they got together, this is what's happening. And the sad part of it is it's just brand new leadership. Like you said that at the beginning, Ron. Like, where's the benefit for AAU? What is AAU getting out of this? Oh, they get the number 8 seed in the cadets, juniors, maybe, and seniors at the team trials. All those people are already qualified at the USAT level anyway. Like, that's just
Yeah,
such a
we don't
crock.
have that many people. Yeah, that's a big crock. We don't have that many people that are going to affect that number anyways. And even still, why number 8? Number 8? Why number 8? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. And again, I know the cadet team's not doing much this year, but even still, the fact that it's public knowledge that that this
Hey.
$100,000 has been shifted over and put and given to USAT is just strange to me.
Is this a conflict of interest, or is this an ethical thing? Do you know how old Clinton's kids are?
No.
Cadets.
Me? I don't know.
Oh,
Cadets.
Well,
Why not
yeah, I
juniors?
mean,
Why not? I mean, it's this year. Juniors need money this year. Why didn't AU
Right
fund
now.
this year? If you already gave the money, if you would have said, we'll have it next year. If they gave the money this year, 100 G's up front, which I don't know. I heard that. I don't know if they got it already, but let's say they did. Why wouldn't that go to this junior team? I got a kid that his family don't have money. He just made the junior national team, and we're doing GoFundMe's. We're selling popcorn.
Right.
We're trying to get this kid money so his
This
mom
is
and
for
dad
Junior Worlds.
Junior Worlds, huge event. And next year you're gonna give the money. The cadets need money next year too. But if USAT is so in the black, if they have so much extra money, they have so much surplus, why why aren't they why aren't they funding these kids?
That's a good
I
question.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, no one answers that. Nobody answers that. But then the rumor is again. This is a rumor, speculation that they're gonna go. Well, it's not speculation because they said they were looking for another coach. They're gonna spend money on another coach, right?
Well,
They're
that
gonna
to me
pay this
is ridiculous.
Well, they said that. They said that. They put out a whole global search for the coach. So that
Global
was
search.
that's
Global
confirmed.
search.
That's on them.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's true.
business I know that will, a real business. If someone's underperforming, you get rid of them and you hire somebody else. You don't keep the people, and we both know both these guys are making, what, 100 grand each now, Paul and Brown? Is that what I heard?
I don't know.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
then it
Sounds
doesn't make
about
sense
right.
to me to have a guy that's sitting over in England most of the time, and then they pay for his flights, come back and forth to the States. Or they did, unless they changed it. But, if he's the head coach, he should be over here in the U.S., not in England. He shouldn't just come
Just
back
think,
here for competition.
well, especially
Well,
now they're getting,
they hijacked this national team system a long time ago. Think about when all this first started in 2017, when basically they came over or had people over here telling them who are our best athletes and who should go here and who should do that. And they took them all from the United States of America over to England to train over there. They've hijacked. That's why I said a long time ago. This system's been hijacked. Like they circumvented all of our selection processes when it came to selecting people who should be funded, who should travel, who should compete, and took them out of the country, trained them somewhere else, changed the whole dynamic, and now we're here, which is no shock that they're not following any rules whatsoever. They haven't been doing it since they got here.
let me add this to what you're
And
saying.
only went to
Ron.
25th level on the, world championships. You can't be proud of
Yeah.
25th position at world championships.
That's what I was gonna go with that. Like, so for example, they're trying to like have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to say our athletes do this, the rest of you athletes, U.S. athletes do that, but their job is all America. Am I right? Or are they supposed to only just do their private club? Because that's what it seems like how they're acting. They're just doing their private club of the academy, which happens to be all the best talent in America right now. Bring them over there, and then they want to take credit for that. But if your job was to create a pipeline for all athletes at all levels, that's what you guys said. We are going to train we're going to expand your pipeline. You're going to have 4 deep in each Olympic or each weight category. And here we are 7 years in. 7
Where's
years
all-
in, and now they're
Where's all those regional training centers they promised?
They just talked about those again. They're back telling this story again. We're doing
Yeah,
this again.
see,
I don't know if
that
people are
never
paying attention or
realized.
not, but
Remember all those coaches they selected? They all checked out, didn't they? And I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just like in Texas, Gianni down there held, because he was selected as one of the regional coaches, right? So he held an event
Yeah.
where they raised funds. I think, if I remember right, it was 25 grand that came in. So they go in the office, and Gianni tells Steve, "Hey, how about we made this money? How about throw a couple grand for a local guy here, so they see that something good's coming out of the region too, right? Given to the region." So they go out there and make an announcement, and everybody's pumped up, right? Steve takes the money, takes off. Gianni don't hear anything for a couple of months. He calls him. Steve goes, "Well, I think we can give him a T-shirt." So basically, the promises were broken again. You can't go by what they say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I this has been one of my pet peeves. I mean they've tinkered and changed the selection procedures. I believe every year that they've had it, for the last 6 years or 7 years. It's literally the selection procedures
and it
always
always
changes.
but it always benefits them. At one point, it was top 10 or top 6 because they knew only their guys could potentially obtain those positions. Now it's top 10 because their guys are already qualified for this. It's always about where they are in their room at the time and what they're trying to accomplish. And right now it's a crapshoot with the Pan Am Championships because everybody gets to go to the Pan Am Championship. Let's be honest. You can get a wild card to the Pan Am Championships or pulling a stick off a Slurpee cup these days. You never know. You might be there. So, I mean, it just is what it is. But that's it's easy to see if you look at it from that standpoint. Every year our rules have changed, and it always helps out their particular room.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, speaking of Gianni Giambi, actually, I was gonna talk about that because I know there was recently they put out the coaching staff, which by the way, Mas TKD put out the USAT's coaching staff, which again they've never done that before. I think it's kind of funny that they publicized it, but I looked at they have the senior, the Pan Am staff, the junior team staff, the cadet team staff, and I'm like looking at this and I go, again, man, I don't want to make this personal because the people actually on the staff, all of them, all of them except for one, I respect. I like what they do. I like what they've done. I think, even if I don't like them personally, I can respect what they've done. But I find it hard to believe that Johnny Giambi is not on that staff, especially on the junior staff. I mean, he's the only coach that has in the last cadet, junior, and cadet world championship medals. He's got probably the best kid on the junior team. The Josh Alade has the best chance of winning a medal. I mean, he's damn a man-child. He fights in the heavier weight categories, and he can't even sniff any of those teams. Like, he's the kind of guy.
I think he's frozen. He'll probably be back.
He's the kind of guy that could definitely help that junior team. He's got experience. He knows the lay of the land. He knows coaches internationally. I think he deserves to be there.
And listen, I think we talked about it a little bit. You got guys that have been quote unquote a part of their coaching system since 2017, 2018. Been traveling with them, going to the training camps, going to different international competitions, having their guys with them, and those guys can't even get a shot at the senior national team coaching staff. When I think for him exactly, I'm talking about TJ Curry. He has 2 people on the senior national team. He has 2. He's a coach at a university that has a full-time training program at this point. He's been around them since 2017, and you're gonna tell me he can't get a spot on the team? Only in comparison when I look at the whole rest of the list. Let's just be real.
Yeah. No. Again, listen, I'm not saying he's the best coach. I'm not saying he's the worst coach. I'm not saying any of that, but I agree with you, TJ. He's got 2 people on the national team. He's worked for USA Taekwondo. He's taken athletes to Korea on their behalf. He's done everything that they've asked him to do, and he can't get on the team. Why? Who's picking this team?
Yeah, not the brightest bulb, though.
Young, I get it, but the other people on that staff, you can't say that they're more qualified.
No, they're not better. Him. They're not better, but that's not. That's by no stretch of the imagination our best and brightest.
No. Listen again. I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out what game they're playing. We always talk about, we talk about like nepotism. We talk about them selecting their team, and I just think they're just reckless at this point. They're not. There's no benefit to anybody that goes into that room except for the people they want close enough that ain't gonna open their mouth when they do stupid shit. That's the only reason. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I ain't trying to put out other people's stuff, but didn't you say something, TJ, that like there was something that was considered for when it came to TJ?
Yeah,
stuff from the past.
Yeah, something with traveling and stuff like that. But like even still that to me just seems a little bit unfair. And I know that situation at hand, and I know it's kind of it's bothersome to him. But like I told him a long time ago, I've had a long-standing relationship with him. We've talked since about 2018 when I was at the World Championships and not being funded and they were there and all that stuff. He's always been a pretty stand-up guy with me and kind of told me this is what's going on, this is how it is, this is where we are. And I remember that whole thing with him not being able to attend a trip because of a wedding kind of comes back and it's like, oh, well, because you couldn't go on this trip 2 years ago, now that came up into conversation when selecting this team. The fact that could ever be said, it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I don't mean to talk, like you said, I don't mean to talk about other people's stuff, but like, I think people need to understand this is not about me trying to fight to be on a national team. This is not trying to you try to be on a national team. This is literally just watching coaches get screwed over and them selecting random ass people. And I'm gonna say it, random ass people. We talk about the cadet teams, but now we got people on the cadet teams that the director of AAU is literally family members with. And that it wasn't like that last year. It wasn't like that the year before. And now that's where we're sitting. You just got to open your eyes a little bit and you can see what game we're playing right now. It makes no sense.
And again, I mean, they've used everything. They say, "Oh, you don't have experience," but yet they put unexperienced people on there, inexperienced people. They say, "Oh, you haven't been in our coaching pipeline," but then you got people like, TJ Curry, who was one of the first people in their coaching pipeline. For this matter, I mean, I criticized the U21 staff, and I used Hansel as an example. And again, it was everyone. I've said it many times. I liked him so much, but I'm like, that was just strange to me. But okay, have some consistency. Why isn't he on the staff? If you're truly trying to build him to be one of the coaches, why isn't he on the cadet staff or junior staff or senior staff as a trainer, as a paddle holder, as whatever you want? Like where's the consistency?
It's because these positions are like popcorn lottery. You know what I mean? It's a popcorn lottery. It's hopefully these guys will support us and be next to us, and they've shaken enough hands and they've been at enough seminars and they've interacted enough, and now they kind of like them, and now we're here. And I'm not knocking what you guys do. I'm not knocking what you're capable of doing. I'm not knocking your programs. I just know for a fact if anyone can sit here and argue back with me and tell me that doesn't look funny to you, then we should have a conversation, and y'all know where I always am. But it's absolutely absurd, and it changes, like you said. The selection procedures change every year for the athletes. The coaching charts change every year. It's been 7 years of inconsistency across the board.
And even next year, like next year's already changed again because U.S. Open is a point total. It's the highest ranking event of their new point system. And again, I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it wasn't like that last year. It was just if you got gold medal, you got a chance in the wild card. But now it's actually part of points. It's part of the point system. So it's just.
I said it before. You can't create a selection system that you are funding people to travel and get the things that are on the selection system. They put out a long list of what they were going to do for the 2028 Olympic qualifications, what it would take to qualify for the Olympic team from now to 2028. And all those events are on there. Obviously, some are world team events like World Championships, Pan Am Championships, Grand Prix, all those things like that. But also it's open finishes, G2 finishes, things that are being funded by them. That can't even be in our selection procedure if you, the organization, are funding those things.
Yeah.
I remember OTC used to exist, but we didn't have 19 different tournaments throughout the year that we had to go to. It was states, nationals, team trials, and you always got a shot at those guys at team trials. Whether you could say the system was rigged, whether you could say they wanted them to win. Guess what? They had to walk out there to the ring every single year and stand across from you. And that was the only hope, not the only hope, but that was the thing you held on to at the end of the year. You knew that no matter how good you think they are, how much you think they get, how much extra help they get, they got to stand in front of you at the end of the year. And now we've taken our top people out of the system. They don't got to fight no more. Like, why are we not fighting a year for a tournament that doesn't matter? Why are we not showing the membership that they can get next to these guys that we're funding or that are funded? Why not?
You're talking about the staff and stuff like that. Like, I want to know, like, what they told. Well, actually, do I know? The cadet team this year technically has nothing to go to. There's no Pan Ams. I mean, there should be, but there isn't. So the cadet team, what do they even do? Are they going to, do a training camp, at the academy? Are they going to, I heard they might go to that North American Open, which is in Sarasota. It's like a G1 Open, but you could.
I'm sure it'll cost $100,000 though.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? It just, again, I think we're the chaoticness of all of this, of the organization on one side and then the AU stuff with us on the other side. It's just, I think it's weak leadership, if you ask me. I think it's just, a lot of uncertainty, and here we are.
I got a question. I think actually Don Lewis and Stephanie actually put up something about they thought about something about a coaching selection for procedures for coaches, like as far as like how you go about that. What was there a system in place before? Like, was there somehow it was selected, or how did you guys go about doing that?
Well, I know for a long time we yearly we created a coaching staff, right? We had a pool of coaches, and quite honestly, I mean, I don't remember how many it was, but it was a pretty good, significant number. It was like 15 or something like that. Like, it was basically the best coaches, and every once in a while there would be a wild card, somebody that would put a couple people on the team, and we always made space for that. So we had our consistent coaches, like for example, for the most part, me and Gene went on a lot of things. Sometimes he didn't go, but I almost went to everything. And then we would put someone that was either good in cadet, or we didn't have cadets at that time, good in juniors or better with the seniors. And then Young is, I think he's trying to get in.
I don't see him.
You sure? It said waiting for host to let in.
He might have went into the old link. He didn't go into this link.
I put the second link.
I'll give it to you again. Send it to him.
But
here.
But
No, that's not
oh, yeah.
him.
But so we would, I always thought it was important to try to make your best, get your best coaches, like your best coaches. Just like sometimes people say, hey, you try to get the best athletes, the best football players on your team, and then make a winning formula. I always try to get the best coaches that we could, but I always left room for that random person, that random athlete that would make the team. And John Smith out of Nebraska, and you know what, would bring his coach, so that kid had a representative. That kid had someone that he could look at and feel comfortable with. All right, like this. Let me go like this. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be my. That's what we do in Brazil right now. We have our coaching staff. We have, some of the best coaches in the country. I mean, I think clear, and I'm sure there's some other decent ones, some other good ones. But we always leave a spot open for somebody to come in. Look at it. Look at Maria Claras.
That's what I was
Okay.
about to say.
Maria Clara, her coach he's a brand new coach. He was under another group of people that club got disbanded, broken up, whatever. And when it all shook out, he was there and he was coaching Maria, and he ended up, coaching, a couple other people. And we brought him. We brought him so that she could have someone directly related with her. And
And that's when
it's
you're
been
looking
good.
out directly for the athletes. That's when you're focused on helping the athlete, help the country, and everybody's playing on the same team.
TJ, you know whose athlete that was supposed to be for? Who's supposed to sit in her chair? Me. And I had the ability to say, keep him or not keep him. I could be in the chair. Come on, Maria's good. I can coach Maria. She speaks English. She listens extremely well. She's a smart woman. No problem. Every time we work together, no problem. But I can't say that I'm better fit than he is. So bring him along. No problem. He could take the pictures. He could be in the highlights. I mean, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So anyway, when I see a guy like going back to Gianni Giambi, I say he's got to be in there. You got to put him in there. You got to put him on that staff. He's got experience. He's got one of the better players. He's got to be there. And you could do that.
They're not
down the
looking
board.
for, but the problem is they're not looking for experience. I mean, you got like Coach Osvani. You got people that have actually been in the system for a long time from the past, a Pan Am Games medalist, like Cuban national team for so long, successful school, put people on a cadet team, has traveled with TOPS programs and AAU national teams, and actually have been around the structure for so long. And those type of people can't make the national team. They have no value to the organization. Just you can't tell me that you looked at a list. That's why I was trying to get it, like, show the list. I think you show everybody the list. Everyone's gonna sit back and scratch their head. Like, how did we get here? Because it doesn't make any sense. It can't make any sense. I know too many people that are qualified that put in applications for those coaching positions.
Who do you think? Who do you think's picking the team?
It's probably a clusterfuck of people. Landon, probably Nikki in there doing her thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's anyone else to blame but Steve McNally, because I know at the top he's the puppet master. He's pulling the strings. He's saying yes or no at the end of the day. So for me, that's what it feels like.
You want to talk about a cluster? So, Ron, I'll tell you this, and TJ, you know this. Her young I told you about this. So I'm reading a deposition that was on a case that was already finished. There's already been a decision made, and I'm reading a deposition and it's from Steve McNally. They're asking Steve McNally about, I don't know, like the coaching structure in the United States, and somehow this has nothing to do with me. Somehow it gets to me, and the council asked something like, if he knows me, and he's like, yeah, we're friendly, but we're not colleagues or something like that. And he's like, okay, and then he said the council says, is Juan Moreno a good coach? He's like, I think he's one of the best coaches in the country. I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Then the next question is, so would Coach Moreno be as qualified as anybody in the world to coach in the United States? And he says, well, that's subjective. And then he says, he's like, is he
I think he's
is he as
frozen
good
again.
as anybody else in the world?
Who's that?
No, I don't think so. And I'm
That's
like,
Coach Moreno. I think
this
other
is-
areas.
this depot was taken in 2022. So let's say 3 years he's been there. 3 years he's been at the CEO. Has no sporting background at all. No martial art background. Not in karate, not judo, no martial art background. In a matter of 3 years, even let's just say 4, for the sake of the conversation, he's an authority on who's a good coach, not just domestically, but in the world. He can compare someone like myself to the world level. Like the arrogance of somebody like that. Like that's just crazy. I don't care how much I study soccer. I couldn't compare an American soccer coach to all the coaches in the world and say he's good or not good. She's qualified or not qualified. I mean, that's crazy. That's a pretty arrogant person, if you ask me. But that's just me. Anyway, let's get back to Mr. Barry.
Yes. No, you're back now. What happened? You had to go. We took a little break.
Did you get a call from USAT? Told you to stop? Told you to get off the phone? Did
No,
they give
not
you an
today.
ultimatum?
Not today. Not today.
Maybe
That,
you
Alright.
can
that
come
phone
on.
conversation I had with Steve was about Terrence, actually.
How long ago was that?
That's when they pulled that card out and said you couldn't coach at the Pan American because you wasn't qualified.
I remember that.
And I made a big thing on the Facebook and all. He called me at home, and I was like, because I remember I said, well, your brick coaches are not qualified. And he goes, how can you say that? I said, because they didn't do any of the procedures to become a qualified U.S. coach. And he goes, but they're Olympic coaches. And I said, it doesn't matter. They didn't meet the USAT's qualifications. They didn't follow the protocol,
What year was that? That was in 2019?
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
I had it was Paige and David Kim on
Right.
the Pan Am Games team.
And he
And
promised me
which
he
I
would
went to the
make Terrence-
qualifiers though.
Yeah.
But
He
Garrett
promised
wasn't an
me
Olympic
he would
coach
make
then.
Terrence a coach. And I remember I told you, Terrence, I wrote you on private, about that conversation.
I remember. And that's where my problem. That's where my problem comes in. And it's like I'm watching these people get selected for coaching staffs, and I know the stories I've been told about not being qualified, not being ready, not being in the right place to coach at these events or all this stuff like that. I know I've said it before, but I had coached at a Grand Prix to a gold medal finish at a Grand Prix before this whole situation. Like it doesn't get any more blatant than that. And I got an Olympian who you talking about, putting someone that's good for them in the chair. You got an organization fighting against her for her to go out there and train with them and want them next to them because that's what they want. Not what she wants, not what's going to be best for her to succeed, but what they want and what they needed to happen.
But
Yeah.
they didn't want to coach her because they didn't train her. Remember?
Yep.
They made it well known they're not going to coach Paige unless she goes to the academy. I don't
They made
think-
that
And then
well
they
known
started
to
coaching.
everybody
If you're the
in the
paying
national
coach-
team.
If you're the paying coach of the U.S. team, it doesn't matter if they make the national team, you better coach them. You can't make
right.
the decision and say, well, I don't feel like coaching this guy because he's not training with me at the academy. That's wrong. What are you being paid for?
This was our Olympian chasing top 6 points at the time, and this ridiculous. I want to say it's him, Steve, Garrett, let themselves get to the point of their egos being so big that they sat across from her at the U.S. Open, like costing her points towards top 6 by coaching Cheyenne against her. Like that doesn't even make any sense. In what country would you go against the person that has your best chance of qualifying direct? All they
Yeah.
do is preach about qualifying direct. You sat across from her and coached against her,
Try to block.
head to head.
It doesn't even make sense. Like if you make this conversation with somebody and say, do you think the national team head coach should try to stop another US player from getting the top 6 in the country? You'd be like, no, right?
But then they were playing that little weirdo game about not coaching their guys at team trials. But you won't coach your guys that you train every single day at team trials, which for me is also really baffling at that point. I know they coached them this time around where Lambden did. But back then, that was their thing. But you'll sit across from our Olympian or our past Olympic medalist who's chasing top 6 points. You'll sit across from her and coach against her.
You know, it's funny because we talk about people not being ready, and like, you know how much I don't think highly of a lot of the coaches, but think about like even Steve Lambden. He's never even had a program. He's never even had a school. Like, he's learning with those kids, and he gets to go to the Pan Am Games. He gets to go to the World Championships. He gets to go to the Olympic Games. Like, that's crazy. Like, again, just going on what you said historically. If you guys never said that, and you say, you know what, we're going to give new people a try, and we're going to bring them in there and let them sink or swim at the Olympic level, World Championship level, Pan Am Game level, okay. But when you tell Terrence Jennings, hey, you're not ready to sit at a Pan Am Games for all of, there's 12 people in the draw. Like, how hard can it be? You fought junior national teams, senior national teams. You've competed. You've won a Pan Am Games medal yourself. Like
I'm at WCAP, a full-time training program. I literally do this for a living at that point. Every single day, Monday
You're a
through
professional
Saturday.
coach.
And
I'm a professional coach.
let's bring up the fact when you had WCAP at full strength, you were beating them at the Grand Prix and all. You had actually
You were
beaten
taking
them
guys.
people. And then all of a sudden, like, well, we need Rusty over here with us. And why Wilson let that happen, I have no idea. But it happened.
Nah. That's because the organization, boss be boss, and having conversations and him selling them the lies that Rusty is going to be the next Olympian, and this person's going to do this and this person's going to do that. Could Rusty have been? For sure. We had beaten Healy a couple of times by that point. But was he ready for what they wanted to do with him and just take him out and put him into way.
TJ, you know when Rusty could be in 2028? He could be a ready.
Biggest.
He could be a monster.
More than ready. Probably
He could be-
2024.
Maybe 2024. You're probably right. But 2028, for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
But they shot that program in the foot early, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit. I know All Army is a big part of that program. I remember when I was first out there, the All Army actually, I think for the first year, came out to Fort Carson for training, and we got to work out with those guys and be around the other members of the U.S. military who came to train with us for the month before nationals. And even that program for me it was strange for me when that program went away. Just solely that part. That just means I know that it was blamed on funding and all those things like that, but I know once it got to the WCAP side of it, that the USAT made sure that this program wasn't going to excel. Nothing they did ever made sense.
Well, they tried to. There was rumors May was offering people the WCAP coaching position. Not rumors, because it was
That's not a
told.
rumor. That's
It's
not a
not a
rumor.
rumor. It's not a rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was said. Look at Mr. Wilson. Took the hook, line, and sinker about Kafani. Getting to the Olympics. Getting to Olympic qualification part of it. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
I figured that out back in the day when they did that Pan Am Games selection process, and they said only the number one and the highest two ranked people, number one and number two in the divisions, could be picked. And then we go online, and at that point they posted the thing online, and they said Damian Vila's name, and I think he was like number 3 or something in the division. We had to call May up and ask her, like, you can't choose him, like, he's not in your selection, it has to be number 1 or number 2. And it was David, and then this other kid, I think his name was like Gianni or something like that. He was a 54, 58 kid. Long story short, she tells us, she goes, well, if David doesn't qualify for the Pan Am Games, then we're not sending him to the Olympic Games. She threatened us at WCAP to make sure, after we're telling her you're going outside of your selection procedures and chose the wrong person. And they had to retract that statement and take Damian's name off and put David Kim's name on. And he was number 1 in both 54 and 58 at that time. How crazy
They-
is that? And he was one of the only unfunded 54 and 58s between the two places.
And then he
Unfunded.
qualified and won a medal.
And he qualified and won a medal.
Yeah. That's
But-
crazy.
But he wasn't one of theirs. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's all they said to me when I even in those interviews or when I was talking to Steve, like, yeah, we got 2 more 54, 58s. They're gonna be right on David's heels in a year. I'm like, you got the best 54, 58 in your country, and you're sitting there having a conversation with telling me who's gonna be next, what you guys are gonna produce to basically get rid of David. And that was a normal conversation to him. But he's not a sport guy. Like, he's not a sports guy. I don't need to say much more than that. He's just not a sports guy. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Let's dive into WCAP. What I mean, you obviously historically you guys have been around for a long time, and it's listen, you guys know I work for another country, but I mean, it didn't take a rocket scientist to look, like you said, Ron, a couple years back, TJ had that thing going from the beginning. I will guarantee you these young kids would have lined up. They were lining up
We
to
were
go out
lining
there.
up. There was no doubt. I remember when it all transpired, came back in the fold. We were I was at a reunion, and Boston Kim brought up the conversation about how the program suffered real bad during the last administration because of funding and all. And then WCAP was being brought back. Of course, I talked to David. Of course, me and you had a conversation about that because we talked about Terrence. And they were asking my opinion. And I called you. And I said, hey, I think it'd be great for Terrence to come in because, once he start competing, he could become the coach and assume, because that program was very special to me, because I came from that program. And, I just didn't get it, because we had the people in place, Now, of course, David, David's a good guy. He's not very confrontational, and TJ was.
We fought a lot. I won't say that. We fought a lot. He fought tooth and nail with me for a long time in WCAP. Everyone doesn't like when it came to funding and getting athletes in. It became very apparent that we were having a lot of issues bringing athletes into the program.
He didn't fight back against the USAT.
That's not true either.
Really?
I think I'm not. No, we fought. When I tell you we fought, we fought.
You were boy boast, but David wasn't very confrontational. Because I remember, because we talked, me and him talking on the phone, and I would be more actually. You know that, TJ. I was more,
No, I know. I know. He was a little bit more, I guess, military savvy than I was, and that's probably why, it came off the way it did. But he was a little bit more military savvy. But we definitely fought. We had conversations with them. We had conversations with our organization. It was just no way they were going to let us build anything where they'd have internal conflict because kids were lining up.
Yeah, and they kept changing the protocol because that was my biggest thing, and that was the biggest thing that drove the nail between me and May was the procedure that came up to make the team was really not beneficial to the military athlete at all, even a collegiate athlete, And their answer to the collegiate athlete was, or even military, well, if you can't pay to afford to go, then don't do it. It's like, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to be selecting the best athlete? Are you basing it on who's got the funding now?
I mean, this like TJ said, the selection procedure are ethically slanted because they decide who they want to work with, and then they decide that they want to fund them. So, my athlete, your athlete. I mean, you're at the fork out, all your money to go get your 20 points, your 40 points, your all your opens. Where meanwhile they said, you know what, we like this person, and you know what, we're gonna fund them. We see potential in them. That's fine, especially if it's a national team person. But if it's not the national team person, and they're getting all that stuff, and there's quite a few people out there. Actually, this time around they got more people on the national team, but I think they shot themselves in the butt because it's only for the Pan Ams, so it's not the national team, right? It's the Pan American team, and then after that, supposedly it's supposed to be all done. Theoretically, those people shouldn't get any more funding, immediately.
Who's that?
Well, for example, like all the people that made the Pan American team, right? The ones that weren't on I think it's.
You talking about the ones that qualified the qualified
draws.
through whatever the ones that qualified through the ranking procedure they put in?
No, they're a
you're talking about
national team.
everybody, okay.
They're a national
Yeah.
team. But this year, if you won the team trials, you were only designated as the Pan American Championship team Because,
Yeah.
for example, Michael and Victor Rodriguez. So you're saying because they took their wild, or because they qualified directly to the national team, but they gave up their spots. They're going to use their wild cards. So technically, they're not on the national team. Technically, they're not. Who's on the national team? The people who won the team trials. So they're not gonna slight, Michael Rodriguez or Victor Rodriguez.
Yeah, they've destroyed our team trials process though. Our team trials process. As soon as you stop taking the big dog out of the room, and I always use as an example when Steven Lopez was Steven Lopez and winning everything, that 80 division was packed. People were in the division and competing against him. And now we're looking at where we're removing people. I know it got a little. At some point later on, they start skipping Pan Am championships, and I can understand that. But when you're making rules that are going, okay, well, if this guy gets into the top 20, he doesn't got to go fight the team trials against maybe some kid like you just said can't afford the funding. Maybe some military person that can't get off work, that can't take leave to go to all these different things. But they're good. But they can fight. But they're in a system, and they're not making any kind of effort to open the doors for anyone other than their guys. But that goes back to the whole shutting the W count program down and trying to make it strangle it and put them all in one room.
TJ, I mean, I don't gotta tell you guys, my Michael Rodriguez, I love that kid. He's one of my favorite kids. TJ, you know how hard he works. You know how serious he is. He's got the it factor. He has something special in him. But let's be honest. Last year, for what he's the highest paid person because of his ranking at the World Championships. Last year he won the he won the Canada Open, right?
Yeah.
He got silver at the President's Cup, and he got a bronze medal at the World Championships. That's it. Those first two are nothing special. The World Championship is special, right? You get a bronze medal, that's special. But think about that. Like, as good as he is, and he probably would beat everybody in the United States, but he's 19 years old. No, he's 21 now. He's 21 years old. Like, he still could be tested. He still could be, keep some of these 19 years old. He should be fighting those guys. He should.
No, but when we're talking about develop, I hate using the word pipeline and pathways. Those two words I just want to throw in the trash because they literally mean nothing in this country at all, 0%. But you got a kid like him that I was there. He beats the national team member in Calfani, who has been on the world team, who has been in the Pan Am Championship, who has medal at the Pan Am Championship, who has gotten Grand Prix medals. There should have been a run back. There's no reason you would separate those two right now for a year. That's irrelevant. We're building into the 2020 Olympic Games where we're going to have
really
spots.
Better? Which one is better?
Let's just let them fight. Why are they not fighting again? Why would you pull him out?
And if Michael beats him again, Michael's getting sharper. Or maybe Kafani comes back and beats him, and Michael's not as solid as they think. And it's the same thing with Victor. Victor's 18. Victor's 18 years old. He should still be fighting domestically to prove that he can keep beating those guys. And if he's better, he wipes them up. He's still better for it. And if he
was something said about that, though. It was something said about having to prove it in your own country. It was something said about going and having to still do it again. Go to the World Championships, fight these big matches, do all this stuff. You got to come back and prove it again.
Olympic athlete, I had to go fight the next year. Pan Am Games gold medals, I had to go fight the next year. You know what I'm saying? 92 team trials, I had to fight. I mean,
same. Why is that different? I watch Korea, one of the best countries in the whole system, send their guys back to the team trials.
And some of them get smacked up, and the new kids come out.
What can be so different about our system that they think that's not the way to do it?
Look at in Brazil, Nicino, he lost that one in 2019.
I remember.
Right?
I remember.
17. It was before the Olympic. Maybe it cost him the Olympic ranking, but he lost. He lost domestically.
I remember.
What are you gonna do?
But that strengthens your domestic. You're telling people in your country that you still have a shot.
Yeah.
You still can go win and be a part of the team.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've said it many times. I've said it over and over. How many times I've said that, something's wrong with the qualifying process because, they have all these procedures you got to go through, all these Grand Prix or whatever to, get the points to be on the team. But then when we go to the big games, they do poorly. And then you look back, it was a simple procedure, the four places at nationals, 2 wild card. They fight it out. The best went, and we had good standings because our men's team, and correct me if I'm wrong, was always ranked in the top 5. Women's team was always ranked in the top 2, right? Junior team, all you had to do was make win juniors, and you're on the national team. And our juniors dominated junior world competition. Today they got team trials and qualifications and all, and they get happy if they get one medal at junior world games. So there's something wrong with the process, obviously, and it's not working, man.
Do we need a cadet team trials? Like, because if it was up to me, or junior team trials, I would let juniors fight at junior nationals, and then be the end of it like it used to be. You give them more time to train. You give them. I don't really. I'm not crazy about the team trial system for them.
Well, if you
really
did do a
not.
team trials, if you do a team trials, you certainly don't do a single elimination with 5 people, 6 people.
Because then
You
it's
do
not a team trials.
do a round robin. Yeah, and then we
robin.
can see who the best kid is. But yeah, I'm not mad at it. Like, look, go and fight it out, and whoever the best man wins, the best girl wins, woman wins, and on that level. But I mean, listen, for me, somehow, some way, we got to get back to when our teams are made. These teams have to have meaningful training camps. I don't care if it's in country, but I think it should be out of the country. I think you should take them to Korea. You should take them to Mexico. You should bring them to Turkey. There's plenty of countries where these other kids are amazing. But our kids in there where they get a little international experience. They're not so worried next time they go to the world championships. They'll be better for it. They'll be better for it. I don't believe in just doing it right in the United States all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's too comfortable for them. It's too normal for them. It's too easy for them. Let them go sleep. Let them go eat some weird food. That's how you build the character of a champion. I mean, Young, you said it earlier. There's athletes that have a championship mindset, and then there's athletes that have the warrior mindset. And we need both in this sport. But you definitely have to have you have to have a warrior mindset. You have to be able to push through different barriers than a hockey player does, or a baseball player, or a basketball player. In a combat sport, you have to have something a little special. And
And you gotta be uncomfortable at home. You cannot be at home untested. You cannot be at home feeling safe, especially 2 years out from the Olympic Games, being in your country. This should be at home. You should be tested. What you doing outside is different, but you should be tested at home.
our top guy is going all over the world, right now, kind of living his best life, at the Olympics, doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, good for him, but I don't know. We had a team trial that he'd have to attend.
Who's that? Who was that?
What?
He's talking about CJ.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
He doesn't win. He wins sporadically, so he should be going to team trials. He's not a proven quantity. He's a random quality.
I'll say, and again, I'm just being as honest as possible. Like, that division for me is underwhelming. There should be more talent in 80,
Yeah.
especially with his level, even the level of success that he's had. It should be a pretty heavy division. We should have 3 or 4 welterweights because the writing's on the wall. They're most likely gonna sit under 80, right? There should be a big push for under 80. I mean, I don't know. This whole generation of, like, we got one person per division that everyone's going, this guy's got to win. It's just crazy to me.
You could have what do you call those things? A crystal ball. Crystal ball. Everything, all the points reset in June. We're 0. Think about all those people that just got on the national team are back to 0. Like, who do you think steps up and starts moving up the ladder? 3 Grand Prix final, President's Cup. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen, I've sat by for 7 years. They're going to have to show me. My crystal ball has been broken. I think I've looked in this ball a couple of times, and that shit don't ever come to fruition for me at all. I mean, I think it's going to be tough in the world. I think it's going to be a hell of a reset and a hell of a race to the end. I think we are very lucky in the United States of America that it falls in our country, because if it wasn't, I think we'd be in a little bit of trouble.
I agree.
we would be in
I mean-
a lot of trouble because those people would have to go qualify, and I think they could, but it won't be easy. Like, when you start to break it down, it wouldn't be easy at all. So, yeah, think you're right, TJ.
I mean,
But it's gonna be tough for some of these guys, like to get big medals. Because listen, the men's side, 58, 68, 80, and plus is gonna be theoretically it should be tough. It should be tough. I'm not talking about little opens in this side of the world. I'm talking about Grand Prix, international medals. It's gonna be tough. And on the women's side, I mean, we got 57 and 67 really that are kind of the front runners, but they got their work cut out for them too. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no duck walk for them.
57's we know 57's tough, and we know 67's tough. Like, and when you look at the guy side for 68, 58, 80, I don't care which one you look at. Everything plus 80 maybe gets a little fizzly, but the rest of them are deep. And we're talking. I think what's gonna happen, and we talked about it before when we used to go to the Grand Prix when they first came out. It was 1 through 32. All people were accounted for, top 32. There was no fall off where you got random people in the bottom. I think everybody's going to show up. I would assume.
Yeah.
2 years out, I would assume it's going to be
Yeah.
packed divisions, real people in real spots all the way through every Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it has to be like that because everyone's gonna be looking for the direct ticket, the direct qualification, top five. So that's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
What do you think on leadership, Ron? What needs to change for either one of them? You can pick one. Pick one of the organizations.
Well, after what came out, what's been exposed, I think, definitely the two executive directors of both organizations speak hand. I mean, come on. They plan a coup, you know. I think it's you have a lawsuit, in my opinion, you know.
How does somebody listen to that and think that it's okay? Like, think about
It's
that.
not.
How,
It's
how,
not.
but these guys,
They just close their eyes and turn their back because it doesn't affect them, or they think it doesn't affect
Yeah.
them, or they're in the organization's good graces right now. Like, I've listened to it obviously plenty of times and I'm going, there's no way. There's
how does
just no
how
way.
does the board listen to that and say, "It's okay, Steve. Don't worry about that. That's okay, Alex. No worries."
Well, not only
Like
that, I mean,
that's
to
just
verbally
weird.
say on the phone that, well, I got a family, I got to look out for, I got to get my 100 grand for my tournament and all. So I only care about my family. But then when I said, hey, what about Terrence? What about Juan? They got families too. So you're just being selfish, obviously. I mean, you know, it's basically
Yeah.
Yeah.
up to you. They gave you they gave you the finger, basically.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
just don't. I just hope people don't like pretend like this isn't happening. Pretend like they didn't hear what you heard. I don't care what you think about me. I really don't. I know the people who support me. I know the people who understand where I've come from, what I've been through, and what I have to continually deal with for them. But if you listen to that tape and you can sit here and go, "Wow, that's so okay. Wow, this is how our organization should be." You got issues. You're worse off than you think.
But why are more people in an uproar? Like why are people just kind?
Wow.
I think they just kind of hope that it just goes away. That's their mo. They just hope that there's some noise, there's some bells ringing, and then it'll all go away. How can those people sit there in good conscience? And I'm talking the people in the. I'll speak on USAT right now. People in the holding area, people that are minister of defenses or whatever they are, minister of athletes affairs. Like, how can you sit there and say that that's okay? How can you sit there and say I can kind of see what they're doing?
Because it's TJ and because we're peak and because I know you and because that's why it's okay. Because of who it's being
Crazy.
done to. That's why it's okay.
I was
It's like that's like asking why aren't these junior team coaches that just got selected? Everyone's up in praise and everything. Why are you guys not fighting for funding for the kids? Why aren't
yeah
you in Steve's office asking them where the funding is? You know it's not okay. They're gonna go pay for they're gonna go pay for their own flights. They're
yeah
gonna go pay for their own stuff. Like, why aren't you guys fighting? You guys are
yeah
supposed to be the best and brightest and the ones that have the most connection and can have these conversations. Nobody's fighting for funding.
yeah.
You guys
You
should
know
be upset. You should be upset.
you
And
know
nobody's
what?
upset.
Young, I'll ask you this too because I know you've been quiet and listening, and stuff like that. And not TJ, you too. Please chime in. I heard this from one of my friends, and he's like, "We just need to all get along and work towards the 2028." And I asked him. I said, "What does that mean?" Like, what does that even mean? What does that, like, think about that statement for a second. It's such a cliche. We go, yeah, let's all work together. What the hell does that mean? Who's not working together? First of all?
Historically, it's what I call the pedophile excuse. You can't, if you're in a family where one of the parents is abusing the children, the other parent doesn't want to speak about it because they don't want to break up the family. And so the idea is that you work, despite the badness of the situation, you work towards some common good. And the USAT has been historically used that mentality, and so has the AAU. So the idea is they tell their people, hey, we need to get along for this greater good. And in this case, the greater good could be the survival of the organization. In the past, it used to be keeping the Koreans out that were corrupt. And now it's the idea that the Olympics are coming and you don't want to cast any dispersions against the organization, because if you do, it'll adversely affect the sport. The other big one was we need to stay in the Olympics so we can't have any internal trouble. And that was a very Korean thing. And so when you do that, what you do is you sell your future for the short-term goal of staying on the Olympic program, or peace to the detriment of everybody else that's involved in the sport. So this has always been the problem with the USAT, and it's always been the mentality, and it's why the WT continues it, and it's a very detrimental thing to athletes in general. It's a very detrimental thing to the organization in general. But that's why it continues to happen, because people put up with it because they're like, yeah, you guys are right. We need to keep peace because peace is better than destruction of the organization. Well, unfortunately, sometimes the only thing you have left is destruction of the organization, because the truth be told, there's never a better day. And this is going on in the Kooky one too right now, where they're like, oh yeah, we know we don't have any non-Koreans on the board. Be patient, there will be. We have them in every country, and there are boots on the ground, and they tell us what's going on. So this has been a mentality. It's been it's a political tool. It's been used time and time again in various things. It's been used with the Romans. It's been used, with any occupier of any country. So why would this surprise us now? No, it's always been like this. This has always been, wait, your time will come. Wait, don't cause any trouble because we need to be unified for this next thing that's coming up, which is the Olympic Games. You don't need to be unified. You need to do what's right for the athletes, for the coaches, for the organization. And if that means that you have to, unfortunately, break some eggs to make an omelet, well, that's life. But that's, I can't tell you the amount of times that we've heard this, and you guys have heard it. You've been around long enough, It's going on, and it's a way to keep abuse quiet, whether it's abuse of an athlete, abuse of an organization, whatever it is. That's how you keep them quiet. You tell them, hey, don't do this because you'll destroy the family. Don't do this, you'll destroy the sport. Don't do this because you'll destroy all the good work and the future of an athlete who may get to go to an Olympic game. Well, yeah, a select athlete or a select group. The USAT, to be honest, and I hesitate to use this analogy, but the USAT is no different than the Epstein files. I mean, they've historically done this, and unfortunately for them, one of the Epstein files got released. You saw it with the TJ and the AAU thing. This is them colluding to exclude an athlete, and then telling that athlete during that phone call, hey, in the better interest of the future, don't say anything. Don't do anything. You want a spot, shut up, sit down and be quiet. How many times can you shut up, sit down and be quiet before you say enough is enough?
I was like saying to this person that said we all got to get along or we got to move forward. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how does that? It's funny, young kids. You kept on saying what's best for the athletes, and that's why I was like, how does saying kumbaya with each other make it better for the athletes? I mean, I'm just being. I mean, is that going to help them train better? Is that going to give them more money? Maybe. Is that gonna teach him how to kick faster? Like I get it, like I keep saying we should row the boats the same way. We're in the Taekwondo family. We should try to work together. But just because people question, just because people, you know, looking for answers, just because, why is that deemed bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? So if we don't follow the almighty leader, if we're not in his boat, then the other boat is wrong. That's not that should be the case. That shouldn't be the case. I know everybody because it's 2028. It's in LA. There's a lot of people that want a seat. They want to be in the picture. And that's okay. That's okay. There's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. But that doesn't mean you have to disclude or exclude, not disclude. That's not a word. Exclude people. I don't know. It's a sad state. Sad state, if you ask me. Frustrating state. Frustrating.
It's
It's frustrating.
historical.
There's no word. Like, even I guess my issue is knowing where we are right now, knowing how bad this is, knowing all the stuff that's been released, knowing all the stuff that's been said, knowing what they're doing. For you to say we all just need to get along is crazy.
Yeah.
It is.
No.
It's crazy.
I mean, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Somebody asked me, did TJ reach out to? I know people told you, TJ, to reach out to Steve and talk to him. I'm like, well, why would TJ do that after hearing what he just heard? After he's been at coffee and been told he's the enemy, after being at the Olympics and told that he couldn't be in the same holding area, after being told he wasn't experienced enough to go to the Pan Am Games, after being asked to let his athletes go train in the gym, but don't come with them, we don't want you there, to not being in the holding area at the World Championships, after all that stuff, just saying, you know what? That was a weird conversation that I just had it on the phone. Let me call Mr. McNally and deal with that. Like, why would a normal person think that would be the solution after you just been pushed, slapped, and looked over? That all of a sudden you're supposed to be the bigger person and just try to make this right. That's crazy. That would be they should be.
If you agree to our terms, no. If you agree to our terms, and if you agree to them, then call Steve. Wait a minute. Why would he be calling Steve to begin with? It's like, obviously, Steve pulled the strings.
Not,
I mean, that's
not
what
Clinton,
that sounds like
not
to me.
Clinton, not Mercer, not him, but call Steve. Call the guy that's not in charge of AAU and talk to him.
Exactly.
That guy, call him.
That's brilliant. Yeah, not Steve, not Mirza. That's true. That's true.
Why would I call him? Like, I mean, when I tell you, I've heard that like 10 times from multiple people. Oh, give Steve a call. Give Steve a call. It's just people not knowing how long this has all been going on.
Same with me.
That you know.
Have you ever sat down and talked to Steve? I'm like, for what? What do I have to
But-
talk
but
about
also-
Steve? I could
but
give him an
also-
education. I could give him a big education. I could solve all of his problems. Probably in an hour.
Probably 30 minutes.
It'd require getting rid of a bunch of people. I mean, sometimes people, I don't know, man. They think too highly of themselves. They think because they've been there for a while that they know what's going on. And, I know that running an organization is not easy. I'm not asking for that at all. People also, hey, you should, nah, it's not me. But
It's funny you say running an organization, but look at this. I think it's been pointed out before. McNally's never owned a business, right?
no.
McNally, let's be clear.
Journalist.
He's
German's never owned a business, right?
No, he was
Who?
I mean, none of these guys have owned a business.
Steve.
None of them.
Well,
Not successful ones.
yeah, Jay Warwick ran a business.
Yeah.
He was.
Yes, he did. He ran
He
some
was a pizza
restaurants.
guy.
But let's look at that. No, nothing against him, but Jay stepped away from the sport, wasn't even involved in coaching or anything for what 20 years? Something like that?
The page
Me
on
either.
the page on Jay has been written and told many times. Jay,
Yeah, but I
Jay-
mean,
yeah.
the whole thing of bringing him back, in my opinion, was
No, they didn't.
when
they
he
didn't
came
bring,
back,
they
they
didn't.
thought people were going to come back to the USA
No, they
team.
didn't bring Jay. Jay
That was the thing.
didn't get brought back. Jay brought himself back. Jay was bored at home. He didn't want to be home anymore. His kids were grown.
When
he,
May-
he
when
brought
May-
himself back.
When May was the high performance director.
High performance.
she brought him in to kind of like help her a little bit, and also to kind of bridge some gaps because they knew, like you said, Ron, they had been gone for. First of all, May was never. She was an athlete, and that was it. She was never involved like in the high performance sport.
You can
Right.
like
So
her,
she had
you
no-
can like or hate May Payho, but the one thing you need to say about her is she has zero, continues to have zero qualifications to be in that position that she was in. She had
She don't even know how to talk to people.
She don't.
Like,
She not
can-
even
she
talk.
shouldn't
She
be
didn't
able to
have the
open her mouth sometimes.
education. She was barely successful as an athlete. She didn't have the education to be in that position. I was shocked when I found out she was in that position. Now that's not to say anything. I like May. You can like May, but if you're going to be honest about May, then you can't be honest about May without saying she wasn't qualified for that position. That's
I got
just
a question.
reality.
I got a question. Who is our high performance director right now? Do we have a high performance director?
I
right
think
now?
it's Paul.
No, he's the
Director of
coaching
coaching.
leader, director of coaching.
I'm saying you
Yeah.
can call him what
I
you
think it's
want,
Steve
but
Landon.
I think he.
Who?
I think it's Steve Lambden.
think it's Steve
And if
Lambden
it is
now.
Steve Lambden, that's a conflict of interest. That
How
you're a
can you
national
be-
team
but I-
coach and the high performance director.
That's what I was about to say. How can you be a national team coach and a high performance director?
Again, this is some non-transparent stuff. I mean, I don't know who is, but he certainly seems like he's acting like it because he's the one going to the AAC, presenting everything that's happening. He's the one going to the USOC or USOPC, and you know, kind of reporting to them. That's what I've heard. Again, this is, you know, I always say when I can't speak 100%, I'll preface with saying that. But from my understanding, he's acting as the high performance director.
I like
And
I
the
like
head coach.
Steve, so I hate to. You know,
Steve
I like Steve Landon. But
What do you like about Steve Lambden? And I'm
He's
and
the
I'm
one that
being
got
very
to the Olympic
direct.
trials with, by disqualifying.
He's the
a
one
guy
that
He was always polite. I've always found him to be polite. So I mean, in the sense of like, I hate to throw shade on him because I think he's always been. Listen. He's
He's
been
a
put in.
snake.
I don't know anything about him, so I can't speak. I can't speak about my experience with him because I can say that across the board, the organization is underwhelming as far as education and ability. You know, and the only reason like I said, I don't speak poorly about Steve because, you know, he's always been a gentleman the times that I've known him and whatever else like that. But, you know, you guys can certainly speak to the interactions with him more than I can. Is anybody that they currently have on staff qualified to do the job they're doing? I can say with some assurity, Gareth Brown is unqualified to be a coach and has demonstrated time and time again that he's unqualified to be a coach. Paul Green is ethically bankrupt in the sense that he keeps picking the pocket of USA Taekwondo and doesn't do his job. Sherman Spinks, Smith, Nelson, whatever he calls himself these days, is conflicted because he's quasi religious, and I say that quasi because he's definitely mixes his metaphors. He is not qualified to do whatever he's doing. At least I think Jason Poos has exited the building. Nice guy, but
He's still there.
is he? Well, anyway, at least he's not talking that
And
much.
let me be clear. I'm just my issue is he's in that room with them too, right?
Who?
Steve
Who?
Steve Lambden. Steve Lambden's in the room with them too. He's the guy that can't stand up for other athletes and people in the room, and he tries to go to other people and get them to tell on them. To get them to do his work for him. I know for a fact he's been around been around those athletes for all this time, and all this stuff that's went down. He knows, and I know for a fact he's told people to even reach out to me, call this guy because he'll know what to do about it. He's in the room with these people. Call this guy talking about me because he knows that I'm gonna say what I gotta say and keep it moving forward. And if there's something that I feel is not right, I'm gonna say it. But that's the guy. They're all complicit. Every single one of them are complicit.
And I'm not saying that's not the case. All I'm saying is, I don't have any experience with him.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
But
so you know, and that's not to say I don't think or feel or whatever. It is just to say, hey, at the end of the day, I don't have any experience with the guy, other than, you know, he's always been polite to me. So if I worked
But
with
again-
him or saw him work. But I can say that the staff in total, not just in part, is
The hypocrisy-
underqualified to do what they do.
Yeah, you're right.
You'd be better
No,
off
but the
having
hypocrisy-
Jay Warwick, who's a dinosaur for this kind of stuff, being the director of high performance, because at least he worked in the USOC and could check the boxes on what's required to be a high performance plan.
Well,
Even
listen,
Steve Lambden went from coaching nobody to coaching at the World Championships, to coaching at the Pan Am Games, to coaching at the Olympic Games. From coaching nobody to coaching at the Olympic Games.
I'm not saying, and
Coaching nobody.
I've already said that I don't think there's anybody in the room that's qualified to do the job they're doing. I'll say this, which I've said to you all. I'm not qualified to coach an Olympic athlete today. I'm qualified to be a high performance director. I'm qualified to be the CEO. I'm qualified to be the COO. I'm qualified to be the strategic planner for USA Taekwondo. I'm qualified for a bunch of things. The last thing I'm qualified to do is sit in a chair.
you should apply.
You know, I would apply, but I, as my wife has reminded me, she asked me, how many organizations have you been involved in at a high? And so, as you guys know, I was on the executive committee of the USOC, the USAT, Olympic Council, Executive Committee, Board of Directors, International, the list goes on. And the ones that I have survived were Olympic Council of Asia and Association of National Olympic Committees. Everything else on the way out, everybody tries to kill me. But I can say this. I make every organization that I've been on better than I was before. On the U.S. Olympic Committee, I removed 3 bad CEOs and got rid of a bunch of bad people. On USA Taekwondo, I removed an entire organization and got rid of CEOs that were malfeasant. And coaches. I was the person that led the way to get rid of a coach who years later we'd find out was also a problem, and he exhibited that both in his coaching ethics and in his personal ethics. So I've never been afraid to do that. The question you guys asked, though, which is the bigger question, is when you lead these sorts of charges, everybody's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So when you ask that question, why aren't people in an uproar? I've lived that my entire life. When I was fixing USA Taekwondo, I turned around and I was alone in the room because everybody was afraid. Same thing with the USOC. When we removed a couple of bad CEOs, specifically Lloyd Ward and some others. And I'd turn around and I'd start out, I'd be one of 3 people. And by the way, I do what I do, I'd be one of 20, but not until I dragged them into the room kicking and screaming. Ethics and ethical behavior are in short supply. They're in short supply in the country, they're in short supply in USA Taekwondo, and they're in short supply in political organizations. What you have now is a CEO who runs an organization who is a PR guy. That's what his job was. He writes press releases, and that's what he still does. You have a COO who was complicit, is a get-along kind of guy, and sucks up to anyone to get anywhere he can get to. And that's why he's carrying, in Korean they call it chogi boy. He's Cho's bag boy, along with the guy from In Sung Kim or whatever his name is. So they all carry the bag of the drunk guy in the front of the bus. And so they like being in the room, they get the free dinners. And I was laughing at the picture of WT because there's one guy in the room that had pretty much beat up every other athlete in that room, including Jay. And they all sit there, and I'm just like, this is an interesting room to be in. But the guys that's getting beat up by everybody they're getting beat up by Cho. And in our organization, everybody sits along while an ass clown runs the organization into the ground. And this is a guy that has no history in sport, has no history in leadership, has no CEO development history, doesn't understand what sport performance is, didn't go to Memos, which Bob Gambardello, myself, and a few of other guys went, and Coach Moreno also went to the Olympic efforts to make coaches better and development programs. Nobody in the room, with the exception of Jay Warwick, did that. So the educated guys in the room aren't there. The guys who know how to run programming, develop program, and implement program. Coach Moreno, myself, and one other person, we created USA Taekwondo's blueprint for coaching, athlete, and referee development. We created it. They still use it today. We did that after getting an educational background and then using that educational background to create content, along with Bob Gambardello, further on down the ride with a bunch of other guys that we brought into the fold. That's how you create programming. That's how you create systemic, sustained competitive excellence. So peak performance under Juan
Let's
Moreno.
go.
Peak performance has sustained competitive excellence. Why? Because it uses a method that encourages competition, develops athletes, puts them in the right environment, and as a result of that, they succeed. And that's been proven here, in Mexico, in Brazil, and in Miami, Florida. That's simply said. When I was coaching and competing, I had 33% of the men's national team come from my school for 8 years. Not 1 year, not 2 years, 8 years. Those athletes came through my program, and I handed them off like most of us do to other people, and they continued to have success. And the list is long, and it goes on. I'm also smart enough to know when I needed to step away, and I don't. I bring Coach Moreno in to coach my Olympic level athletes because that's who should be coaching them. Not
Come
me.
in. He leaves me alone.
I don't even watch. I come in to
he
pick them
doesn't
up for
watch.
dinner. I've had Coach TJ in, and
Listen, young.
good.
I mean,
Anyway.
you're right. You're right on all this stuff. I mean, it's. I think it's. Things
well, I
that
hadn't
we
talked,
don't-
so I had to use some of the time. You know,
Nah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I mean, this is what I like about this conversation is we could keep bouncing back around. And it's funny we're not just on one track. We're kind of going around, but just I think it shows, in my opinion, it displays the chaos. It displays the man the lack of really. If you have to go out there and put, we all need to get in the same boat, we all need to kind of work together, then you've done something wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you can't make that happen naturally, you've done something wrong. And I don't care if it's a coaching selection, I don't care if it's athlete development, I don't care if it's athlete investment. It just seems like it's always, TJ, you said it's always for a few people, and that's what we're not supposed to be. The USA Taekwondo AAU is supposed to be for everybody. There's not enough for everybody. You're always going to be a little bit short, but it should be for more than what it is being used for right now. And I think that's the problem. When you have a personal club that's being funded by the organization, and that's all they care about, that's a problem. You said it, Mr. Barry. If they don't want to, if you're getting paid, then damn it, you should sit in those people's chairs. You shouldn't pawn them off to some first-year world championship coach to coach 50% of the team. That's not correct. That is not correct.
Hey, you remember what I always said. I mean, we talked about this 3, 4, 5 years ago. I've always said coaching should be selected on merit, not from who you know and all. And unfortunately, quite a few coaches we've seen never had schools, never produced nobody and all, and they got designated as a national coach and went to world games and all, and that shouldn't be the case. I mean, didn't Scott Fucci, how many people did he put on the team? He didn't get selected. Why? Look at Sang in Texas. Why not?
Yeah. Well, now these coaches are going to other countries now. Some of our best coaches, Sang Chao, he's working with an athlete from Costa Rica, and he's in a couple African countries, and he's all in with them. He's all in with them and doing well.
Good for him. Good for him because he deserves it. He deserves it.
Well,
He didn't get it at home.
unfortunately. Well, maybe we should wrap this up. We've gone up quite a long time.
hour and a half. You guys were chatty Cathys. Well, this has been
kept losing people.
Master Barry, Coach Barry. It's been an honor to get a chance to speak with you. I see all your posts where you continue to remind people of the past and who we were, where we were, because USA Taekwondo has forgotten that they forgot who built the building that they stand in. So I appreciate you mentioning not only the Olympic champions and the Olympic medalists, but everybody that including, because there would be no way, and this will be the final thing that you guys, I'll say, and TJ and you guys are all right. At the end of the day, none of us would be here if we didn't have people under us that were pushing us to be better than we could be domestically. If somebody had protected us here in this country so we didn't have to fight, we would never have achieved what we have achieved. You do a disservice to the great athletes we have in this country if you don't force them to test their mettle, MEDDLE, and become better for what they can become. And so you remind us constantly of the many people who came up as USA medalists in the various areas and the champions that names aren't celebrated because they weren't always necessarily going to the World Championships, the Olympics, or whatever, but they were certainly national champions, and I applaud you for that. But with that said, I see TJ is nodding off there. He's got to get back to his poster and do his namaste to his Joker poster behind him. I haven't given him a hard enough time, but I want
See
to thank
Master
you
Barry
for
this
coming.
weekend.
I think we should let Master Barry get the last.
I'm going to.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me, and thank you all for having me.
All right.
And let's just do what we do,
All
man.
right. Well, thank you for coming in and having the courage to spend time with us. Hopefully, you don't get your suspension letter from the AAU following the podcast. This has been the Warehouse.
Hey, I'm not worried about
This is the Warehouse 15. And like we said before, if we've offended you, then we've been doing our job. Sorry, not sorry, baby. And we're out.